The New York Knicks are of course NBA champions, and if you ask most fans why they won, they'll probably say Jalen Brunson, some will say Karl Anthony Towns, others will say OG Anunoby or Mike Brown, and honestly they would all be partially right. But after rewatching this final series, I keep coming back to one thing. I think there was one specific adjustment that completely changed everything. An adjustment that shifted the momentum of the series and that forced San Antonio to play a different game, and that may have already ultimately won the New York Knicks a championship. Let's rewind to Game 4. The Spurs were feeling great. They had just won Game 3. Victor Wembanyama was rolling. The momentum had finally started shifting, and for the first time all finals, it felt like San Antonio might actually be figuring New York out. Then the Knicks fell behind by 29 points, and at that moment, most teams in the NBA would have folded. Most teams would have started thinking about Game 5, but Mike Brown did not, and this team also did not. Instead, he started experimenting, and what happened next changed the series. For most of the finals, the Spurs had one clear strategy: make life miserable for Jalen Brunson, trap him, pressure him, blitz him, force the ball out of his hands, and honestly, it was working. Brunson was still productive because great players always find a way, but the Knicks offense was not flowing the way it normally does. San Antonio was making everything difficult, and that's where Mike Brown made his biggest move of the finals. Instead of asking Brunson to create everything himself, Brown put Jose Alvarado next to him, and at first glance it did not seem revolutionary, but it did change everything. Now the Spurs could not send two defenders at Brunson every possession. Now there was another ball handler, another creator, another guy capable of making quick decisions. And suddenly you can tell Brunson looked freer, the offense looked cleaner, the pace changed, and the spacing improved. The Knicks started attacking instead of reacting. And if you go back and watch those minutes, that's when the comeback really started gaining life. But there was another adjustment, and this one does not get talked about enough. OG Anunoby on Victor Wembanyama, because nobody completely shuts down Wemby. That's pretty much impossible, but basketball is not always about stopping somebody. Sometimes it's about making them uncomfortable, and that's exactly what OG did. He used strength, physicality, positioning. He made every touch harder, every catch tougher, every decision more uncomfortable. And from that point forward, the Spurs never looked quite as comfortable offensively, and what made these adjustments special was not just that they worked, it's that they changed the way the Spurs had to think. That's what elite coaching does. It forces the opponent to react instead of dictating terms, and the Spurs spent the first half of the series dictating. The Knicks spent the second half forcing San Antonio to adjust. That's a huge difference. Championships are often won when one team runs out of answers, and by the end of the finals, it felt like the Spurs were running out of those answers. And while everybody focuses on Brunson, there's another guy who deserves a ton of credit, Josh Hart, because even when his scoring was not there, the hustle never disappeared, the rebounding never disappeared, and the effort never disappeared. Every championship team has players willing to do the dirty work. Josh Hart became the embodiment of that. Loose balls, second chances, deflections, winning plays, the stuff that never shows up properly in a box score. The biggest lesson from this championship is not that the Knicks had the best player or the deepest roster or even the biggest market. It's that they were willing to adapt, and when something was not working, they changed it. When San Antonio adjusted, they answered. When momentum shifted, they found another gear, and that's why they became champions. And honestly, that's why I think this championship is going to age incredibly well. Because it was not built on one magical run, it was built on solving problems. And before I wrap this up, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been supporting the channel throughout this finals run, and quite frankly, the playoffs in entirety. The comments, the likes, the debates, the predictions, and the celebrations. It's been incredible experiencing this championship with all of you. And for those of you asking where to grab Knicks Finals championship gear, I've got a link available through the channel. If you're planning on picking up championship merch anyway, definitely check it out and support the channel at the same time. Now let's finish this. In years from now, people are going to remember Brunson holding the trophy, they're going to remember the celebration, and they're going to remember the championship parade. But I think they also will remember something else. The moment Mike Brown found the answer, because sometimes championships are not won by a superstar shot, sometimes they are won by an adjustment, and looking back at this finals, I think that is exactly what happened. The New York Knicks are champions, and the adjustment that changed everything might be one of the most important moments in franchise history.